That's odd.
Report suspicious activities.
It's raining today.
They call it puppy love. Wait till you graduate from high school, they tell you. But you know better. He's the one for you. Until one day, 6 months later, he isn't. Maybe it was puppy love after all. You know better now. But what you did not know or expect was for him to lose his mind as he begins to harass and torment you, as if toying with your sanity was his new obsession. You may be young, but you know enough to seek a protective order against him for what your lawyers tell you is a pattern of harassment. He denies your claims, but a judge grants you the order requiring both of you to not have any contact. Finally, some peace, you think to yourself. A year passes on. September 20th, 2017, 7:20 a.m. You arrive home that evening. A few moments later, you hear your front door jiggling and then opening. It's him. In an instant, before you can register the reality of the situation, he charges at you. He knocks you over, pushes you to the ground, and in the process knocks over your flower vase and other items in your living room. Then he starts punching you. You try your best to hold your own on the ground. Without warning, he then pins your arms behind your head and whips out a box cutter. A cold chill spreads over your body as you see him reveal the blade, madness in his eyes. You are lost in those familiar eyes for a split second, until adrenaline kicks in and you start resisting again. But he overpowers you as he then proceeds to slice an X on your chest. He brings up the box cutter to your face and slashes your face. Your heart is beating so loud now that that's all you can hear. But something takes over you as you wiggle your way out his crushing embrace. You run for your taser, but you won't run away. You will face him once and for all, you think. But when you return to the living room with your taser, he is gone. Immediately, you call the police to report him, and in just 2 days, he is arrested by Georgetown police officers. Oddly, as he is being arrested, he asks why he is being arrested. The nerve. To which the officers tell him, "Don't act like you don't know." But you knew that, didn't you, Faith? This is the case of Faith Coxes. September 22nd, 2017. Christopher James Procopia, then 19, was working at a Georgetown lumberyard in Texas when Georgetown police officers arrested him. Faith Coxes, his ex-girlfriend from high school, had accused him of burglary and assault. 2 days prior, a Temple City police officer had responded to an assault call from Faith. He found her with cuts and injuries to her face and chest. A sexual assault nurse who examined the linear cuts to her face and chest concluded that they were probably made by a box cutter or something similar, effectively corroborating Faith's statement. According to Faith's oral and written statements to the police, she had just arrived at home one fateful evening on September 20th, 2017, when Christopher barged in and assaulted her. Records show that Temple police moved quickly to arrest Christopher after building a case in just 2 days, based solely on Faith's word. Upon his arrest, Christopher was given minimal information as he was taken into custody. According to his defense attorney, Rick Flores, when Christopher asked the police why he was being arrested, they simply told his client, "Don't act like you don't know," effectively assuming his guilt. Furthermore, when police informed him that they had a warrant for his arrest in Bell County, it is alleged that Christopher's response was, "Where is Bell County?"
I had no idea who accused me of this. I had no idea why everything's happening, and I was lost.
To the officers, Christopher was just another good-for-nothing criminal feigning innocence by playing ignorant with them. So off they hauled him to Williamstown County Jail, guilty until proven innocent. Christopher was charged with burglary of a habitation with the intent to commit other felonies, a first-degree felony, with a possible sentence of up to 99 years or life in prison if he was convicted. Only after his family posted a $150,000 bond did they release him. Sure, they had to drain their 401k and savings account for his bail and to hire an attorney, but they believed their son. Their fight to prove their son's innocence had just begun. According to Christopher and his family, Faith and Christopher had dated for only 6 months in high school. And while Faith alleged that Christopher was harassing her, Christopher's father, David, insisted that she had destroyed the last of his senior year with lies and baseless accusations. adding that his son never even had a speeding ticket, let alone arrested prior to the assault claim. Christopher even went further to state that he had had no contact with Faith since high school in Cedar Park, let alone remember the last time he even talked to her, until he learned in 2016 that she was seeking a protective order against him for what she said was a pattern of harassment, which she got despite his denial of her claim. After his arrest, Christopher was terrified he was going to prison for a crime he didn't commit, or so he said and insisted upon.
That's what I was scared of most, just going to prison for no reason. I was constantly fearful as to what could happen the next day. I was going to sleep hoping I wouldn't wake up, to try just to get away from it.
As far as authorities were concerned, this was not a mere case of he said, she said, but a case of he did, she said. But did he really? Christopher, his family, and his lawyer Flores started requesting and collecting police records to build their case for the ongoing criminal case. Then, a turning point. Finally, his attorney started getting more pertinent information about the assault. One crucial piece of information included the date and time Faith alleged Christopher committed the crime. Wednesday, September 20th, 2017 at 7:20 a.m. His attorney quickly sent a text to his mother.
He sent me a text message and said, okay, I finally got the details. And she's saying that it happened on September the 20th.
Immediately, Erin, Christopher's mother, realized something was off. Then she remembered that on the night in question, she had actually invited Christopher to an event in North Austin, Texas, more than an hour away from Faith's home, where the attack obviously took place.
Thankfully, I do log on to Facebook all the time, and I check in when I go places.
They were attending a convention at the Austin Renaissance Hotel. Christopher and his attorney tried to explain his whereabouts and alibi to police, but without concrete proof, they weren't going to drop the charges. Unbeknownst to the police and even himself, his mother, Erin, had an ace up her sleeve.
And so I immediately told Rick, I've got proof of where he was at. He goes, are you 100% sure? I'm like, yes.
Erin realized she possessed a piece of evidence that could exonerate him. A selfie taken at 7:02 p.m. on September 20th, 2017, 70 miles away from Faith's Bell County home. A selfie which she had shared that very same evening on Facebook. Armed with the photo, geolocation, and Facebook share date in hand, Erin showed authorities the photo. Cell phone towers also helped pinpoint Christopher's actual location. He was, indeed, 70 miles away from Faith as the alleged attack took place. Regarding the new evidence against Faith's accusation, his lawyer stated, he was very fortunate that she chose a date and time that he just happened to have a rock-solid alibi for. He and I have talked many times about how lucky he is, whether you believe in a higher power or good old-fashioned luck. On top of the time-stamped, geo-located selfie taken 20 minutes before Faith's alleged time of attack 70 miles away, Erin also turned over text messages and polygraphs over to authorities to prove her son's innocence. Armed with all this information, on top of affidavits from witnesses backing Christopher's claim of innocence, his attorney, Flores, went in front of Bell County prosecutors to dismiss the case against Christopher, which took a while. Prosecutors hired a forensics expert to confirm that the photograph was taken at the time they said. It checked out. But only after 9 months in June 2018 did the Bell County District Attorney, Henry Garza, finally decide to drop the charges against Christopher with the judgment, in the interest of justice, a classification often used when they no longer think a person committed a crime. 6 months passed before the courts finally pursued a case against Faith for making a false report, however. And that too only after persistent insistence of the Procopias to charge the then 19-year-old Faith Coxes, stating, "We had friends and family who were continuously contacting them. Hey, what's going on with this case?" To me, it just seemed like they were going to leave it alone, and I don't think that's right. And surprise, surprise, it was later proven Faith cut herself and caused the damage to her home. When police confronted Faith with new information in May, she repeated her claim that he assaulted her. Faith Coxes did not change her story, Temple police investigators reported. Eventually, authorities arrested Faith on December 18, 2019, on a charge of making a false report, to which Christopher recounted, As soon as I saw her mugshot, I broke down crying. It was a wave of emotions that hit me. I couldn't really contain myself because of the pure joy of her finally being brought to justice. Both David and Aaron Procopio were at the hearing for their son. According to David, he stared several times at Faith and her parents during the hearing, but they didn't look his way in the courtroom, not once. Quite damning given the context, if I might say so. Yet even then, despite the indisputable evidence, Faith's attorney, Wade Faulkner, said his client denies the allegations being made by Mr. Procopio and looks forward to defending these allegations in court, going even further to state that Christopher is continuing to harass his client by talking publicly about the case. Yeah, how dare he, right? The audacity. Faith's eventual sentencing, 12 months deferred adjudication probation, and $2,000 in restitution to her victim. Yep, that was it. Imagine the injustice the Procopios felt. David, Christopher's father, summed it up with his statement. "We are very disappointed in the outcome, knowing that my son faced 99 years in prison for this, and all she has been slapped with is a $2,000 fine and probation. That is very disheartening for us, the way the justice system has treated our family and the outcome of this. But we are also God-believing people, so, in the end, we will be justified, and everything will come out about it." According to Aaron, the Bell County Attorney's Office didn't fail them. The justice system itself did, stating, they rushed to arrest him without investigating any further or interviewing him, and that's where the failure began. If they'd questioned him, the entire thing could have been avoided. As for Christopher, he stated, "If they did their job and investigated the case, just asking me a question, 'Where were you September 20?' I would have been like, 'I was with my mom at the Austin Renaissance Hotel. You want proof? Here's a picture.' But they didn't do that. Even with a picture-perfect alibi, it took 9 months before charges against Christopher were dropped. By October 2017, the Procopios had proof of where their son was, but it took until June 2018 for the charge to be dropped. That was 9 months of wasting time, energy, and resources. As the quote goes, justice delayed is justice denied. Which is why Faith's sentencing of a year's probation and a mere $2,000 in restitution probably felt like such a slap in the face to the Procopios. Never mind the hundreds of thousands of dollars they spent on freeing their son. How could Faith get such a light sentence, they wondered. Well, I did a little digging. First of all, to determine a false claim, law enforcement must consider a number of variables when deciding whether or not such incidents rise to the level of a crime, and then whether to arrest the person who made the false claim. Authorities say even though such incidents send them down dead ends, stymie investigations, and waste time, and sometimes wrongly put innocent people under the microscope, they often forgive such false accounts and reserve the filing of charges for the most egregious, provable cases. Their reasoning? They often do not pursue such false accusation cases as a matter of prioritizing resources and to ensure the public remains comfortable reporting suspected crimes. In other words, why waste more of taxpayers' money when so much has already been wasted based on false accusations to begin with? Especially given that false accusations make up a small percentage of all accusations. They fear vigorously pursuing such cases could have a chilling societal effect, deterring people who might worry about facing charges if they don't accurately remember details. Lastly, apparently, it can be legally difficult to persuade a jury to convict in such cases. In the absence of compelling evidence, a person intentionally lied, as intent is a key component for prosecution. However, officials say in Christopher's case, it was clear Faith Coxes knew what she was doing when she called 911 to report he had broken into her home. And yet, here we are. It doesn't escape me, as I'm sure it doesn't you either, the viewer, that so many real accusations do not get taken seriously. Yet, a frivolous lie by a spiteful teenager with nothing better to do gets processed without any hesitation, to the point of affecting another citizen's life forever. But alas, justice is imperfect. As the quote goes, the law isn't justice. It's a very imperfect mechanism. If you press exactly the right buttons and are also lucky, justice may show up in the answer. A mechanism is all the law was ever intended to be. That said, Christopher is doing well. According to his father, He's carrying on with his life as he is in the military and doing his best to carry on his life as a private citizen.
She is not a person in my life anymore. I'm finally done with her, and I can move on with my life and feel great about it.
However, even though his name was cleared, he lives on with the consequences of Faith's immoral actions. His attorney stated, while his family is happy it ended up with a dismissal and that it will be expunged from his record, the damage is kind of done. Nothing will ever be completely scrubbed from the internet. Flores is referring to Christopher's encounter with the U.S. Army. Apparently, when the then 21-year-old Christopher met with a recruiter to enlist in the U.S. Army, he was rejected because of the violent offense for which he had been charged for the year prior to his application, despite those charges being dropped. However, Christopher's parents are now trying to fight to get the law changed. They want to make the offense of a false accusation a felony through a bill stating, "You used to have to prove yourself guilty, but now it is the opposite. You are guilty until you prove yourself innocent. This isn't the end of it. We've had to be on the defense, and now we're on the offense." As for Faith Cox, unfortunately, I could not find much information on her. But here's to all the Faith Coxes of the world, just don't do it.